Paraflow is a product design agent. And honestly, when I tested this, it blew my mind because I was expecting something a bit more subtle, generic. But frankly, I was amazed by this. And I even made a tweet about it a few days ago. And I said, OMG, because I was honestly surprised by what this agent can do for you. I was opportune to get some access. So let me show you how this works. I have a concept here that I've already done, and just to give you some insight on some of the things these can actually do for you. As you can see, it didn't only just go into building these prototypes, but it started by implementing a process, implementing a clear architecture and structure for this project. And it started by creating some global context. And if you look at this, there are some product charter that includes things like the product positioning, brand keywords. This is just majorly on the product level to be able to understand what we are actually building before going into building it. And then it went straight into the feature plan. It drafted like a PRD, and then for those that do not know, a PRD is a product requirement document that documents what the product actually needs to focus on. And that's just a mini explanation of what it is. It covers a lot more. It created like a user flow, and you can see the mapping. Like it completely mapped everything out from the beginning, from how the user navigates from the main pages to the end points for this user. And then it went into individual screen planning, and you can see that we have the home screen, the learning screen, so much more. And it didn't only do all of this, it then went into creating style guides that would guide the implementation at the end of the day. So you can see we have some foundations here. We have the text styles, we have the icons, basic icons that it would use, mostly in the footer section. As you can see, the bottom navigation. It had some generic cards that we would reuse, input fields, which other people call like text fields as well. It created like a progress bar, tags and labels, an icon button. It created like button and then some types and so many other things. It created a text structure here, and it put in some keywords. I think these keywords would mostly work for some aspects of the app. And then we have some refined cheat sheet over here where you can see how it has implemented not just one but multiple cheat sheets. So it's the same thing, but it's constantly enhancing on what it did before, making it even more visually appealing, and also creating like distinct styles. It didn't only start from just creating one style and then working with it, but it created multiple styles just to ensure that we have some options and we can reference this. You can reference it from the title. You can see, you can just copy the title over here, copy, and then you can let it know, use this style for the rest of the application, and it's going to stick with this. And then it went into building the actual screens over here, and you're going to see what it has done. It has done a pretty good job, and it's referencing from the multiple styles. You can see that this style is coming from the first one, and then it has this other one which is referencing from the different cheat sheets. A cheat sheet contains some basic UI components and foundations, so it's referencing from this to ensure that we have something we can start working with. But let me show you how these work. So we'll go back to the dashboard. In the dashboard, you can do so many things. You can either create a new project, import a design by using the extension, the Paraflow extension, and there's a way you can learn how to do this from here. You can save any web page and reuse this in Paraflow. You can give it that context and say build this, and then we have other like tags that you can just kickstart from. These are like prompts that have already been established for you, and you would find your projects here, and it feels like there's nothing showing more on the screen, but there's more. You can find use cases below here to see how other people have used the tool to build some really amazing products. And then there's a quick start guide over here where you can learn more about this, and I have my points here. I have a few points. I have some monthly limits as well. But let's go straight into creating a new project. And don't forget, you can watch a video. If you click here, it takes you to a video where you can watch more about the offerings that Paraflow can help you do. And this is the product design agent. Let's get into a new project. So click on the new project. It's going to load, and once it's done, you can now tell it what you want to do. Now the workspace looks like this. Before you start, there are some things I can start up with. What would you like to design today? And let's say we want to design a finance app, because it's pretty generic and everyone can relate to it. So we're going to say we are looking money from cross borders. Yeah, because this is one of the major challenge that we face today as talents. Whether you're a freelancer or whatever you are, there's usually this payment constraint. So this is what we want to do. And we don't even need to say anything much. Just hit enter and it's going to start cooking. And now you can watch the magic happen on the screen. It's going to take everything from what it needs to do to breaking down every single bit of how it's going to create this implementation or create this product, from everything it has to do as a product designer. As a product designer, you're not only going to be designing stuff, but there's a lot more things that you have to do along the way to arrive from problem to solution. And this agent is going to do all of those thinking. That this comprehensive approach would ensure we build a finance app that not only functions well, but also builds the trust and credibility essential for financial services. Should I proceed with this plan? So if you don't like what it has done, we can have a preview of this. It says key areas will address core financial features, user experience focus, security and compliance, which is very important, platform strategy, and so much more that it mentioned down here. So this is what it's going to focus on in the build. Now, if you're not okay with this, you can say, oh, I think something is missing, do this, do that, and it can process that. I'm just going to like this because I feel like this has done a great job. Now, I'm just going to type in and say, yes, proceed. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to build every single element along the way to ensure that the product is both scalable, intuitive, and has a great strategy at the end of the day. You can find the to-dos here. So it's going to start first by establishing product foundation. It will define the feature requirements, because every feature has a requirement, and scope in PRD, and it's going to map user flows for the money transfer journeys, plan detailed screen structures and functionality, analyze and design UI style for financial application, generate key interface designs for user review, create remaining screens based on selected style, build interactive prototype for user testing. What this essentially means is it's trying to map out our user persona and saying, okay, these are migrant workers that would need to transfer money. This is a small business that would do transactions with international bodies or with people outside of their region, and this person would need to transfer money. So what are the challenges this person faces? And you can see it's talking about these two user personas. The first one is about Carlos, and I like what it's doing here. I wanted to skip the video while it's cooking, but I think it would be nice if I give you some context into what it's actually doing. And first, it has defined some of the basic bio for this user, and then went into telling us about Carlos. So Carlos has been working construction in the United States for 8 years. I think that sentence is a bit off. For 8 years, sending money home to support his wife and 2 children in Mexico or some people call it Mexico, I'm not sure, every month. He's familiar with traditional money transfer services, but frustrated by high fees. And there's a PP that comes into this scene. And unreliable delivery times. Carlos primarily uses his smartphone for most daily tasks and values straightforward, trustworthy services that don't waste his time or money. He sends money home regularly every 2 weeks, usually $200 to $500 per transfer, researches fees and exchange rates carefully before choosing transfer services. This means he's using multiple platforms, which is kind of frustrating. Every time you have to check here, check there, and often sends transfer during evening hours after work and so much more. He prefers mobile apps over website but needs Spanish language support. So this is a major need for this user. And some of his frustrations: hidden fees that reduce the amount his family receives without warning. And this happens, like you send money to someone from cross borders and the person does not receive the exact amount that you sent. This is really bad. Or you send money and the person has to pay fees for receiving the money and pay fees for withdrawing the money, which is honestly really frustrating. And then there's complex verification processes that require multiple trips to physical locations, poor customer service when transfers are delayed or problems occur. And then some of his goals: I want to maximize the amount of money that reaches my family by minimizing fees. I want to get reliable confirmation that transfers completed successfully. And this is very important. I want to send money quickly when family emergencies arise. Build a track record of successful transfers for future larger amounts. And then the tax. He wants to calculate total cost, including fees, before confirming transfers. Save recipient information for his wife and parents to speed up repeat transfers. Check real-time transfer status and estimated delivery times. Contact customer support when transfers are delayed or issues arise. Compare exchange rates across different services to get the best value. Set up recurring transfers for regular monthly family support. And this is the feature plan. It has the PRD for cross-border money transfer platform. It has the user flow. It has mapped it out. And then it has the individual pages, which is like the home screen, what will be on the home screen, the send money screen, the history screen, which is like the transaction history screen, the account screen, which is like the profile management. And then it has select recipient screen, enter amount screen. It has planned the major things that we need to ensure that this project flies. It's now working on the style guide. And I think this is where it's a bit tricky because we have not given it a personality. We've not said, okay, this is what our brand is about. So it's coming up with its own idea. It's looking at what is the best practices today. And it's trying to implement those best practices by picking from different areas to ensure that we have a style guide that is both cohesive and welcoming. This is what it has done with the style guides. It has professional banking, and then I think it's going to build another style guide. This is what it has done. It has gone to the blues because obviously blue builds more trust or the type of brand that we're building. So blue is there, but it can be a very competitive color, especially with branding, marketing. When you have to put out things in the billboard, certain brands that are already using this blue color, people might just feel like they're the ones doing the marketing or they're the ones that have the billboards there, even without looking at the logo. So this is a very competitive color. There are other ways to actually brand or set your own brand language and ensure that people, when they see your stuff, they know that it's you, obviously. But I just wanted to put that out there. So it's a very competitive color. It has some of the functional colors, the accent colors, the text colors. And then it gave us some icons. These are cards for the transactions. It showed the completed below here. I wouldn't do that because it would now have, if you have multiple transactions, then it can take up a lot of the screen real estate. But I think this is a pretty good start. If I wanted to add this, I probably would add it as a very tiny tag underneath the amount. Yeah, because sometimes it can show minus, but the transaction hasn't gone yet. And you want to let users know that this transaction is still pending or it has been sent and all of that. So we could find ways to actually implement this. either adding like an icon on the image. Like when this icon changes from this to this, then the user knows it's been sent. User will know it's pending. If this would be a lot of information for the user to digest, and then we need to find a way to also communicate it to the user. Are you seeing what it has done? It worked on that stuff. Okay, I think it's still there. Yeah, it worked on multiple cheat sheets. We have the send money and cancel button. These are like the key buttons we'll be using. And then we have learn more hypertext, which is like the tertiary button link. This is the professional banking cheat sheets. And then this is for the contemporary layered cheat sheets. It went with green, which I think is leaning towards wise. We have 4 tags. We have success, error. I'm not sure what error means. Did it fail? You need to add that context. And then it has the soft, flat, warmed cheat sheet. Yeah, this is not bad. It has the input field for the amount. It has completed, processing, fast transfer, which is not bad. And yeah, it did this. So we now have the tag underneath the amount. And then we have the time that this transaction happened and who we send the transaction to. And in the prototype, we now have this. All right. In the first one, home, professional, and then it has contemporary and so on. For the quick actions, the user can either send, request, add money, and see rates for the day. This view all, I probably would put it by the side here. But yeah, it did a pretty good job, just like this one, just to maintain that consistency. Yeah, and then it has this completed. This transaction is pending. This is completed. This is completed, and this failed to Sophie. And then for security and trust, it said account verified, all documents approved. I'll probably just throw this in the settings instead of here. And then security tips, enable 2-factor authentication for enhanced account security, which is good, not bad. And then we have customer support as a quick action. Maybe put an icon of a help at the top here. I think that would be better than having it below the screen, because if I turn this to a viewport, which is probably around 812 for the 375 screen, then this would be far down and can be frustrating for the users. But it did a great job with the bottom navigation. It did a very good job. I like it. It created like 2 different sections, the home bar and then the bottom navigation, which can also teach you some things about implementing or designing your screens to ensure that developers even implemented the way you've done. You can see that each section has like a widget. It's like a widget of its own. This is another section. You can see how it's implementing this, ensuring that there's no space even at the top. I used to add space at the top and the bottom, but it did this. And then I think there's a space between, like the general space between them, which is really nice. And then at the top here, it shows available balance and then plus 2.5% this month. I'm not a fan of this percentage. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. It's done, which is really good, but I'm not a fan of this percentage because I really want to know how much. So instead of saying 2.5%, you could tell me how much came in this month, like plus $847.50 this month. I think that will be pretty clear for the user. And then here it has this type of card for the contemporary one. Forgive me for that. And then it moved the welcome back Sarah up here. Yeah, and then it has the amount here is in USD. There's no way for me to change it. I don't know why it's using just USD, but it's fine. I didn't give context to the region. Quick actions, it highlighted this one, letting us know that this is the action users take the most, or the action the brand wants the user to take the most. And then we have these other cards for the recent transaction, and you can view all. These are the exchange rates. This is the security and support, which I said would go into the settings. And then it has this very beautiful card. I like how it has designed them. I think this is a better design to the previous one. It said professional, so that's like the banking experience. And then this one is the approachable, which has some very colorful colors. Yeah, which is not bad as well. This account verified, account status. I wouldn't put this here. Would I always see this? What importance is this to me? I know it's verified. Just hide this in your admin. I don't need to see it, and just leave me with this other informations. I like that I grouped this eye icon with the title. Really good. And then we have the quick actions, the same with the rest of them. We have this as well, which takes up less space than this one. But this one is clean. But this takes up less space. And then we have the recent transactions and the same information down here as well. It also builds more. Here we have for the professional, it's building every single screen and building them in 3 different ways so that you can iterate very fast. So this is for the professional. You can see the recipient up here. You can add, which is visible. And then this one's down here. I'm not sure who they are. All right. These are recent. Yeah. This is add and this is what? I'm not sure. Quick options, there's express, it arrives in minutes. Obviously it would be more fees. And then transfer amount, there's something showing here which I'm not sure what that is. Yeah, but I think this was supposed to be in this card. Yeah, I think that was where it's supposed to be, the USD showing at the far end. And then it shows like this breakdown, and this happens when you click on send. Transfer amount, I'm not sure why I'm seeing everything here. I think there should be like a button to once you click send, you see recent recipients, and then you can add, and if you click add, then you could now see these options. Yeah, but this feels like a lot of things in the screen. These are some quick options. You can select an amount. This is better. And then you can see select recipients. You can search for one, or you can select from recent ones. You can view all, which takes you to a view all page. You can add a new recipient. I probably would not use search here. I would remove this and use the recent recipients, and then I would have the add new recipients, and then I would have these quick actions, which is really a good design, frankly. I'm amazed by the output of the design. And then you have quick actions. I think I cannot select this and select this. This is what I think. So I feel like first things first, once I click on send money, I should see the recipients I want to send the money to. I'll select them, because what happens if I go to view all? If I go to view all and select, what happens from there? This is what I'm thinking at the moment. So I probably should see them in steps. So I select the recipient. It takes me to quick actions or a field where I can select like a field above it. And then these are quick actions, and I can select either the quick actions or enter an amount, which is like transfer details. You send, you receive, and select the recipient to continue. I'm not sure about this. And then for the last one, the approachable, you have select recipient. You can add quick transfer. It's basically building everything the same way, but within 3 different cheat sheets, which is like the styles. And yes, it's done. Now you can tell it, oh, I don't like this. Make this better. You can see the border, you can see the radius, spacing. There are more options. You can copy, duplicate, add to chart. You can add it to chart and say, okay, make this better. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You can go on and ask it to build more screens. Or maybe I don't like the way this screen is. Can you enhance it? And it's going to do all of that for you. These tools are here to help you work faster. It's just going to give you some ideas that you can build on. You can see that while I navigated all of these designs, there were certain things that I discovered that could be better. To someone else, it might be what they need. But for my own use case, I feel like certain things can be moved around to make them better. And this is where your own design thinking comes into play. So you take this as a reference. If you're someone that is not so strong in documentation, in creating all the flows, you can come here, do all of that, and then you can copy this out to your design files. You can use all of this in there to further enhance whatever you're building on. The cheat sheet that it has created, which is a style guide, you can also take it in there and then change it. You have your own colors, you can update it. You can take the screens here as guides. Some of the screens have multiple screen data or informations that you can duplicate into multiple screens and just enhance the general experience for your users. Check out paraflow.com to start using the product design agent today.